Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel, Art Classes My Way. Please leave a comment in the comment section below of things that you would like to learn that I can make videos on. I am always open to suggestions. Today's video we are going to be working on head pins and a variety of techniques, which really there's two, for making your own either bracelets or necklaces with a variety and assortment of beads that you have in a more chain-like fashion. Sorry. So what we have here is some 20 gauge wire. Right there. I recommend, especially for bracelets, probably going into the 20 gauge. I wouldn't, for either necklace or bracelet, I would not go any more than a 20 gauge, and on the same token I would not go any less than 24, because if you get it too thin, then the hoops that you end up making, the different parts of the chain, they start getting very brittle, and if just the slightest tug on them is going to distort the nice round head pins that you're going to make for this little project. And if you get much thicker, then it's going to be very, very unruly for you. So that is, we are going to use 20 gauge for this one. Again, it could be up to a 24, no less than a 20. And we're going to use round nose. Square nose isn't necessary. You could use just regular chain nose pliers, either or. This is what I just happen to have at hand's reach. And then a pair of nippers. For this particular kind of project, I prefer to use flush nippers. It'll give me a nice flush cut either way. And in a variety, an assortment of beads that you might have lying around. For these kind of projects, I always like using these clear beads that come with all the beads that you end up buying. You'll buy a string of beads and these guys will be like in between every other bead. I like using them for these projects because they help add space, add just a touch of sparkle. And they might lighten up some of the darker colors that you're using. And it also helps you use them up because you'll get tons of these guys as you build your bead collection. And, you know, you are paying for them even though they're just plain old clear beads. So you might as well use them, right? So, to begin this, you can do this one of two ways. You can either make a regular head pin, which we have done in a previous video. You're going to want your wire right in the middle. You don't want to be able to feel the sharp edge when you run your finger over the top. And then with a thicker wire like this, I'm going to be using the middle of my round nose for a bigger hoop. You can go smaller, but you don't want to go like all the way down to the end here. If you go all the way down to the end, your pliers are going to end up doing something kind of wonky for the bigger wires. Now, if you end up using the smaller 24, yeah, you can use the end, but otherwise it would probably end up twisting your pliers and ruining the long life of them. But for this one, I'm going to go right about the middle. I don't feel it there. And then you're just going to start rotating until you get this nice P. There we are. Until he touches himself right over here. And then you put your pliers in, and then, oop, my wire's wanting to rotate on me. Then you just kink him backwards a little bit, like so. Now if you want to go ahead and continue to rolling there, so that way he does go back to touching again, you might have to do that. But if you put your fingernail right in that kink, it'll keep the integrity of that kink for you. Just lovely. Alright, now you can cut off a length of your little thing here, and ta-da, head pin. Oh my god, it's a miracle. And then you can just slide on whatever bead you want. Put a little kink. Now if you wanted your bead to have a little bit of slide, That's going to be determined by the amount of kink, the length that you put from the bead up to wherever it is you kink it. I don't, for something that's sitting here by itself like this, and you know what? I think I want to use some clear beads. On you guys go. Whee. There we are. A little extra sparkle to that guy. Makes him feel just a tiny bit special. I don't like to have a whole lot of movement, so I will typically put my kink a whole lot closer. There's a tiny bit of wiggle in there, but there won't be a whole lot by the time we put the rest of the pin going on here. And I'll put, now if you've forgotten what part of your pliers you were using, perhaps, you can always just put them through again, see where they were before. Okay, that's where it was. I don't like marking up my pliers with a marker, and I like them nice and clean. But that'll show you, and then you can just go back to what you were doing. And I keep my finger, especially if you have longer nails, it's really nice. I keep my nail into the curve right here when I am making my head pin. Helps keep, again, the integrity of the kink I might have already put in there. And I ended up not going out far enough on my wire, so I lifted it up, stretched it back out, and keeping my fingernail here, so that way the kink doesn't move. And I'm moving up the wire, so that way I use up the wire rather than wasting it. And bend him around here. Now with that little bit of wire right there, it's not a perfect P yet. It's still just a tiny bit straight. So I'll probably just, you can do this with regular chain nose pliers. Come in here with the square nose. Grab that corner and just bring him up a little bit. Because that itty bitty little bit of wire right there has a lot of strength in it for no longer than it is versus your fingers. Pretty hard to deal with. But there we have it. Cut off our excess. Whoop, come on guys. Yeah, I might just need my other nippers for this part of it. I'm not too particularly good at this method, because I know there's a lot of people out there who can do this and just instantly judge how much wire they need, exactly when and where and everything. I like using a different method for this, and I will be showing you that. Off you fall. There we go. Keep him with the rest of my collection of little tidbits. And there we have it. We have the first link in a beaded chain. And then you can either make another one exactly like this, maybe with some different beads, and then you have these head pins, or you can also think of them as a jump ring. And if you don't really know what to do with jump rings, please watch my jump ring video that shows you how to properly open and close, as well as making your own jump rings. But open sesame. There we are. And then you can add as many links as you want to for your little chain here. Now I am going to put him back the way he was. Shimmy. This is what I love about square nose pliers. You can come in here and flatten that sucker right back the way he was. You don't even have to use the round nose. Just squeeze. And perfection. Yay. Or if you also, there's another look that you can go with that gives you kind of a twisty look. You can also rotate this head pin so that way one is being flat and then maybe this one's facing you, going longwise. You definitely need 2 pliers for that, for small as these guys are. Yeah. And then as you add more links to the chain, you can kind of get a twisted effect going. or you can leave it straight, either way. So that one's made. I'm going to make another one, and I want to show you a different method. Now for this method, I typically put my beads on straight away. Come here, you. These itty bitty guys, I just don't want to do what I want. There we are. You. And you. Yeah. And there you go. I like to give a good long length for this method, and right in the middle of my round nose, so that one just way it'll be, the hoop will be the same size as my other piece that I made. I want them to be pretty close to the same. And then I'm going to round and round we go. Whoop, sorry. And then we get a really nice tail on this. But we still got that nice P shape going. And then once we got that, put a little kink, rotate. Alright. And there you have it. Now we want this for a very particular reason. Now, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to increase the structural integrity of our bracelet or our necklace, whatever it is that you end up making, by wrapping this tail around the wire. I recommend you do at minimum 3 wraps. 1 wrap is going to unravel. 2 wraps, it's got some good strength, but there's still a chance that it could be pulled loose. 3 wraps, the wire is going to break long before that thing's going to come unwrapped. So when you get to this point, when you're making a lot of chains, so let's say that I did this exact same method with the end of this one, you want to put that on before you start wrapping, because otherwise one of these guys is going to have to be nipped if you have a finished piece and you're making a new one. If you don't have a finished piece and this is your first one, then you'll be fine. So, put him back into place there. Get my square nose, hold him still, and this is a pretty long little shaft here, so I can do this with my fingers. Now, I want these wraps to be nice and close. Away with you. I want those wraps to be nice and close. It just looks nicer, it looks more polished, more finished in the long run. Now see, that's getting pretty painful just using my fingers right there. So what I will do at this point is I will put my round nose in there, and I will hold it with my round nose instead and start rotating it in my square nose. Now my square nose will end up flattening it down to where it needs to be without making any scuffs, any marks. Now that's a little bit farther away than I want it, so I'll just slide him up, give it a little, there we are, there, beautiful. Now the round nose, or the square nose, they won't be perfect, you'll still get a little bit of a tail. Now that's just where you can go in and nip that little tail off a little bit. Maybe even take your square nose and give him a light squeeze so that way he is exactly where you want him. Come on, twist. Yeah, I know, Bad Cat. Vash the Stampede is showing why he is named the Stampede at the moment. He's a naughty boy. And there we have it. Beautiful little infinitely closed piece. Lots of structural integrity. So you won't have to worry about your piece, one of your links breaking or not being perfect, or somebody just being rough with your stuff. I know I'm rough on jewelry. I figure if my jewelry can survive a day with me, it should darn near be able to survive a day with anybody. Because within a month of having my wedding ring, which was a gorgeous thing that my husband gave me with great big beautiful blood red garnet on it. He knows I love the color red. I don't particularly care for diamonds. I like colors. As an art major, I like color. And he knew, and he listened, and he got me a beautiful red garnet. And within a month of having that thing, guess what I did? Put a great big chip in it. So now I'm absolutely mortified to wear it, and it just stays in a lovely little box that occasionally I'll open the top and just like, my precious, my precious. It's horrible. Of which he actually went to a lot of my jewelry classes with me. Not the actual class, but while I was actually trying to work and do a project and get extra time in, he would come into my classes and watch what I did. And apparently he was able to pick up enough that while he was still in college and I had graduated, he had made me a... oh, what do you call them? An engagement ring. And he had picked up enough from watching me make rings from wax, the wax method, where you make a wax mold and then you put all kinds of resin around it, and then you melt the wax out of your mold, and then you we had this wonderful like spinny thing that just, you heated the metal until it was molten, and then it just spun around at insane speeds, and you're just terrified that metal's just gonna go whoosh everywhere. Yeah, it was one of those methods. But he was able to pick up enough, and he went around. He's one of those people, everybody loves him. He's just a great guy. And he went around and asked everybody if they had any scrap silver, that they didn't they didn't have any uses for, and he was able to make it. He did have one of our mutual friends go ahead and do the arm sling thing, because the teacher didn't even know that he was really in there. He just hung out with some of my friends after I graduated. I'm just doing the exact same thing I did with the other end. And yeah, he made my engagement ring. Sweet boy. And now I'm terrified to wear it too, because you know what? It's even harder to replace than that beautiful garnet he gave me and spent all kinds of money on, because he made it himself and nobody else can make it. It is one of a kind and cannot be replaced. So, alright, so just did the exact same thing. I probably got way too much tail on that guy. Oh well. So I did the exact same thing, and let's say I have several of these already pre-made up and starting my chain. It's very, very important that you, and let's say this is like one of like the other one. Very important that you remember to put this guy on before you close it up, because if you don't, well, all of this is for nothing. You're going to have to get your pliers out, and you're going to have to turn it into a jump ring and snip it somewhere and then add it on. Because by the time you get done unraveling it again and everything, you realize it's your mistake. It's just you might as well just start over with the whole thing. So, now I got that guy on there. And because these are big enough, it's actually kind of easy for me. I could just hold this in place and go ahead and do what I started doing down here. But there's going to be times when that's going to be very, very difficult. So I take my round nose pliers, holds this end out of my way, and grab a hold of this, and just grabbing hold of it flush like that, so that way he can't wiggle around on me. And then make sure my beads are out of the way. We come around with that nice long tail, pushing up one rep. Hush, Markiplier. That's what I was watching before I started this. One rep, 2 reps, and it looks like I misjudged my distance a little bit. That happens. If I could get this guy to behave, maybe, but it's not going to. So, again, 2 reps is great. 3 reps is always better. but that's going to do. This is a pretty darn strong wire. So flip him over. Probably ended up wrapping a little too much. Yeah, I think I found a place where I could squeeze a little bit more life. Maybe not. Oh well. Away they all skitter. Nice and tight there. Now you don't want to get your stuff too tight where you end up breaking your beads. Definitely watch out for that. And definitely be listening for cracking, snapping sounds. Because you may hear them before the bead actually breaks, and then the bead will break like within just like being lightly tapped or just that, and then all of a sudden everything shatters. These are an acrylic, so I'm not too worried, but these guys are a stone, so I would worry about them a little bit. Different stones have different hardness levels, so you will find that some are easier to snap than others. Now I'm just going in here with the corner of my round noses and giving that bottom piece here a slight squeeze, because he could catch on something. He could cause some mischief, and I don't want any mischief makers. There we go. Maybe a little bit more of tweaking. Tweak. There we go. Okay. There. And there you have it. 2 methods for making your own beaded chains and necklaces. You can use an infinite wrap method that is going to have a lot more structural integrity down the long run. Or you can use this method, which is also great, but probably work hardening, which by that I mean taking this hoop part, putting it on a metal anvil, those little bench blocks, just sticking that part down and giving it a light tapping with the hammer until it gets work hardened, which is also in one of my other videos, learning how to use wire and picking your wires and such. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. While this guy, once you've built it and you've linked everything together, it is done. You're not going to be able to do anything else with it other than cutting your wires and completely starting all over and doing different things. But the structural integrity is totally there. This one has got a lot more versatility. If I just need to take one link out of the chain, I can and fix it. But the structural integrity is not quite there. And all you have to do is just give a little twist, plop him out, as long as your bead doesn't get in the way. Plop out one end, and then I can work with this guy and figure out why I don't like him, or fix whatever needs fixing. And then plop him right back in, get my beads out of the way. And then if I can grab a hold of that other end, it's playing Ring Around the Rosie with me at the moment. Alright, you guys are just not behaving. I'm going to use the pliers. There we go. And then rotate right back into place. Make sure that's nice and closed. Make sure you are still nice and closed. Ta-da! So, it's a method I see a lot of people using to use up a bunch of beads. Maybe they don't necessarily use that often, but they got like tons and tons of them. And all of a sudden, when you put all these beads together, they look great when they're all together. So it's a great way to get rid of a bunch of beads that you don't normally use very quickly. And using the chain method. Way I normally end up picking beads, I will, like you saw in the beginning of the video, I will just grab a whole bunch of them, throw them in a big pile together like this. Alright, well, I want to add some more black. Yeah, that looks good. Just visually seeing them. But yeah, just visually seeing them as a big pile together really typically helps me out, because you might have a shade of blue or that just doesn't quite work with the shade of green that you have, and you're trying to make like a let's say a peacock themed color theme. It works great on a peacock, but maybe the green that you have available to you in your little box of beads just may not. Flat out is never ever going to work with the blue that you have, and you're just not going to know until you throw it into a great big honking pile. And while I do have these wonderful browns going on, bye, that bead just went on his own merry way. And while I got all these lovely browns, well, I got some clear as well in here. Well, I would think maybe these clear guys with this gold coppery sparkle in them, yeah, well, when I put those in there, they don't really look all that awesome. So, maybe not. Yeah, okay, I have... These round ones are going to be the death of me. I got this. Oh, hey, that looks pretty good in there. Maybe not with these guys. So what's more important to me? Using these metallic round guys, or maybe going with this nice pearl going on here? Well, what about this guy I got going on? How would I even use them? I don't even know if I have an idea for them. Maybe those aren't the greatest idea. So that's typically how I choose what I am going to put when I'm doing just a random mass of beads. And maybe even I don't like the copper color going on. Well, I can just grab some of my silver colored wire, copper wire, throw it in here and just like run it along the side here. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe this bead is just not gonna... And this is an acrylic pearl. This isn't one of my freshwater. My freshwaters have a box all their own. But that kind of yellow color is just not really hitting it with that copper color. So maybe I'll throw him out. So that's typically what I do when I try to figure out what I'm going to do with a huge mass of random nonsense that I have in my box. And you can even get random other chains to link in between this chain and this chain. There could be 3 or 4 links in between, jump rings in between these two. And maybe you want to randomize that up. But I wouldn't put more than 2 different randomized jump rings. Maybe this side will have 3 and this one will have 5. Well, then you better put 3, 5, 3, 5. Don't put 3, 5, 8, 20, 1, 3, 5. That's too many different varieties going on. You still want it to feel balanced. And sometimes you can just put them all nice and neat and snug like that. So, I hope this video helps you out with coming up with those random assortment of bead necklaces and bracelets that you see out there. If there's anything else out there that you would like to learn, maybe I should open it up to this. I'm not really sure. While I will not show you exactly how a photo may have been made, if there's a specific technique maybe you want to learn in a photo, please post it in the comments section. Let me know what it is specifically about this photo that you want to learn how to do. And if I know how to do it, and if I have the capabilities of doing it, I will totally try to help you out with that. I will not, on the other hand, help you create an exact replica of somebody else's work. That's up to them. But if it's something that's come out of an instruction book and you're just not getting it from reading it, that I'm more than happy to help you with, because they're already putting it out there for you to learn. Please like, subscribe. It helps me out more than you can ever imagine. And also, please, again, comment section. Let me know what you want to learn. Otherwise, I'm going to teach you what I feel like teaching you. And also, keep in mind, if you want to help me out any more, you can always go to my Etsy page at Naughty Dog Studios and Naughty Dog Jewelry on Facebook. You can also follow me on the Facebook. It would be awesome sauce. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you guys in the future. Have a good one. Bye.